Hi everyone, it's Tina Newby here with Florida Luxury Realty. Welcome to another segment of Tina Talks. Today topic it's gonna be a topic that we all do not want to talk about. We don't want to think about it. It is an unpleasant topic, but I think that it is an important topic for us to discuss, especially now. I would like to introduce you to Miss Arlene Jacob, and she's from Dignity Memorial. Come and talk to us about in the worst case scenario, what we need to do to prepare for our family's, funeral. Let's welcome Miss Arlene Jacob. Hi, Arlene.
Hi, Tina. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Thank you for inviting me on to your Tina Talks.
Thank you so much for coming and be a part of it. Please, Arlene, can you tell us a little bit about what do you do at Dignity Memorial?
Well, I'm a pre-planning advisor, so I help families beforehand, not during the time that someone's funerals, not when someone passes away. That's what a funeral director does. So I help families protect themselves against the inevitable loss down the road. Hopefully, not in a long time.
Okay, what's going on, especially during this pandemic? Can you give us a little bit about what's going on as far as, what happened when you can't really, what happened to funeral when you have to do social distancing? Is it still going on?
We are still having funerals, but social distancing definitely has made it a challenge. Right now, a lot of times we're doing live stream funerals, which, like we're doing this live stream interview right now, where people who can't come, who can't fly, who can't travel to get to the funeral can actually watch it at home. So we will actually broadcast and provide them with a link so that the family members can all be together, so they can and mourn together their loss, but to be safe while they're doing it.
Okay, have have you seen the influx of people calling you for planning, or has it been what has been going on?
We get both. We have the individuals who are scared and they want to get a plan in place just in case something should happen. And then we have other people that definitely don't want to talk about it. They think that well, it's always been a kind of taboo subject to talk about, but some people are really scared at this time. So they say, even though they're thinking about it, and everybody's scared, they're not planning for it.
So what should they do as far as planning for it?
Well, we plan ahead. So there's a difference between pre-planning a funeral and pre-arranging a funeral. One of them is that the way we do it is a little bit different than a lot of other companies. We actually secure your funeral so that if your family doesn't have the funds to pay for a funeral the time that you pass away, um, they're not going to be stuck with that burden, with that bill. So what we do is we plan ahead, put everything in place just the way you would want it, and then you can pay for it a little at a time, over time. And if you should pass away while paying for it, we pay off the balance, which is very different from how a lot of other companies do it.
My question is, what happened to family who did not plan for a funeral and who do not have the money for the funeral?
Unfortunately, with the way funerals are, you have to pay for the funeral services at the time of service. We can't uncremate somebody. So what happens to that individual if the family wants to have a funeral and wants us to hold on to the body, then we have to refrigerate them and keep them in a refrigerator until the family can come forward. If they can't come forward, if they have no one to claim them, then it goes into the public domain, not our, it would go into the public morgue, and they would take care of it. They would take care of the cremation and or burial.
Okay. Is there a different way of doing it, or, especially right now who pass away with COVID-19, what happened to them?
As far as what happens to the body, is that what you're
Yes.
saying? we have to take all precautions so that no one is contaminated from handling that body. So we are um, everything right now is very sterile, and one of the reasons why I'm working from home is we're trying to minimize the number of people that would come in contact with the individual. So uh, in that case, most cases, again, we would go for a direct burial or a direct cremation where the body is not exposed to individuals, but immediately taken care of.
So my question is, are those the people who pass away with COVID-19? Is that the the group of people that you're providing the virtual funeral for, or it's just everybody?
Everybody, yeah, everybody right now, we're doing virtual funerals, if we can. Some people
Okay.
are opting to delay it, like if they're wanting to do a memorial service or a celebration of life later on. We are allowing that to happen, hopefully when things open up again and families can travel. But right now, if they want to have a service virtually, we are offering that right now so that they
Okay.
can.
And I have a lot. Well, I guess I am too part of this group that you know, what is the difference between having life insurance and pre-plan for the funeral? Is that can we use the life insurance that's to pay for the funeral if people, because I feel like a lot of people said, oh, I don't have to worry about that. I have my life insurance.
So I guess the difference between using life insurance to pay for a funeral and doing a pre-plan is one, life insurance may not be there at the time that you need it. Um, a lot of times people say, "Okay, I've got life insurance. That's great. Life insurance is there for a different purpose. Is to take the place of the income that's lost for from when that person passes away and expenses after they pass away. One, you have to claim it. So that takes time. We know that you need a death certificate to claim that. And for us, it takes a week to 2 weeks to get that death certificate. And then you have to go through the claims process before you get paid on that life insurance. So there's a big difference right there. Um, and the difference also is that life insurance can be borrowed against. If it's a whole life policy and has a cash value, a lot of times people use that life insurance for other purposes. So maybe they paid for medical expenses with that. Maybe they borrowed against it for other reasons. So that life insurance may not be there. It may not be there and available when they need it. Another thing that happens oftentimes is someone gets to a situation where they have to spend down to go into like a nursing facility where they have to eliminate their assets. A life insurance policy is an asset. A funeral is not. A funeral is a necessity. So if you put money into a funeral plan, you know it's going to be there. It's not going to be used for something else. The other thing about funerals, if you pre plan with a funeral, you are locking in your price. So if you use a life insurance plan and you think, okay, I'm putting aside, and a lot of elderly people did this, they put aside maybe $5,000. A long time ago, $5,000 was a good price for a funeral. Now it's not. So the average funeral in the United States is about 8,200. So you're already $3,000 less than what you should have for a just an average funeral. And that doesn't even include the cemetery. So if you put money aside in a life insurance, the prices have continued to go up. If you pre-plan a funeral and pay for it, you lock in your price. So your prices never go up. The plan is in place and you're paying for it a little at a time, but it's not for your entire life. A whole life policy, you're going to have to pay for it for your entire life. A funeral plan you put in place for a limited time, so say 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you pay it off. Once it's paid off, you're done. You never have to pay for it. You don't have to pay for your funeral at all. Does that make sense?
It does. It does make sense, and
That was a
especially
long answer. I'm sorry.
no, that's perfectly fine because I feel like people do need to hear about this and know the process because I have seen so many when people doesn't plan for it and they happen to someone pass and they have to do the GoFundMe. But I've noticed that, it's been with the pandemic going on, it's unexpected pass away. And I have seen so many GoFundMe for funeral. And I just think that right now there's just so many of it online that it's not something that you're going to be able to guarantee that you're going to get help from other to pay for the funeral, and it's
Yeah,
it's a
I see
burden
it all the
on the
time too.
family.
I see it all the time, all these GoFundMe's for funerals. And that is the saddest way, I think, to pay for a funeral, to ask for help from complete strangers on the internet because you didn't have the forethought to think, you know, this is something that may happen to everybody. There is no guarantees. The only, I think Benjamin Franklin said there's only two guarantees in life, death and taxes, right? So we know that this is something that's eventual, that's going to happen. What's so wrong about planning for it? Why shouldn't we plan ahead?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we plan ahead for everything else. And I know that, like I had mentioned at the beginning of the video, it's unpleasant, but everybody's going to have to go through it, especially if you have older, elderly parents who, you need to think about it because, like Arlene say, 8,000, it's not something that you just have in your bank account at any time and said, oh, I got it. So for us to be able to plan for it and pay a little bit at a time, it is important. It is important to know that, if something happened, we are ready for it and we have a plan in place for it.
Yes,
Is there
exactly.
is there any other thing that you are dealing with that you feel like people just don't know and that they should know?
Well, I think right now one of the things that I can tell you is that we can now plan virtually. We used to have to meet in person with every couple that we met with to plan their funerals. I can now do it virtually, so I can sit down well again with you in your home and me in my home, and plan your funerals for you and get everything so that you can see it just like we're doing right now back and forth on a computer screen, and I can share my screen and show you everything I have so that you're well educated, and you're not walking into a funeral home blindfolded and not knowing what to expect. I can give you all the pricing, I can give you all the different packages that are available, and find something that'll fit your budget so that you're not stressed out. Because I know a lot of people right now, they're not getting an income coming in, so this is going to be really hard. We've actually delayed our first two payments so that you don't have to pay in, if you did something right now in April, you wouldn't have to pay in May or June. So your next payment would be in July, and hopefully things will be back to normal by then. Um, but you'd be protected. You'll still be
Okay.
protected.
Another question I have is, if people have elderly parent, can they plan for their parent, or does the parent have to be online, meet with you to plan for their own?
If if they have a power of attorney for that parent, they can plan for their parents. Yes, and children also do have interest in their parents' funerals, so that is something that's possible also. If they're going to be paying for it, then yes, they can. But it would be better to have the parents' agreement, of course, obviously, to get their input in this, and have them help with the planning process. And I can do that over the phone. If they don't have internet and the children want to watch and see everything that I'm doing, and they have an internet, we can do it that way as well. So we could do a three-way call, however it's most convenient for them.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much for spending the time and kind of, talk to us about this. I know it's not an easy topic to talk about or to listen to, but having to see what's going on, especially during pandemic, and then especially having elderly parent too, I too want to know what's the option are and what we need to do to plan ahead for these kind of things.
Yeah, the other benefit of Dignity Memorials, we are nationwide. So we have 2,400 locations from Canada to Puerto Rico and California to New York. So chances are we have a location near wherever your family is. And if you're not living here in Florida and you move somewhere else after you've put your plan in place here in Florida, that plan will travel with you to wherever you move to. That's another big benefit of using a large company where, you know, you know that we're going to be around for a while, and you know that we're backed by 2,400 locations. So that's a lot of real estate.
Yeah, yeah. And it is. It's reassuring, especially if you want to plan for it and you don't know really where life takes you, but you know that, you plan for it and it's going to happen and your family do not have to, take on the burden of having to worry about the funeral. It's important for sure.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you for broaching this topic. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to talk to you some more. I definitely will, you know, I will reach out too because I do too have, parents that, are older and we need to think about it for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye
Bye.
bye.